This is Agriculture Today, and I'm Shelby Varner with the K-State Radio Network. The show starts with K-State grain economist Daniel O'Brien as he highlights futures and cash prices for corn, soybeans, and wheat. He also notes what usually takes place for the grain market around the holidays. K-State Agriculture Precision Specialist Deepak Joshi and K-State Extension Agronomist Tina Sullivan keep the show moving as they discuss the importance of cleaning yield monitor data and what errors commonly occur. Chip Redmond, K-State meteorologist, ends today's show as he shares his forecast that includes what he expects for the end of the year. That and more is coming up ahead. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we start our Friday show with the grain market update from K-State grain economist Daniel O'Brien. Daniel, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Shelby. Appreciate it.
Daniel, today, just wanting to take a look at what our markets are currently looking like and what are we seeing?
Well, wherever markets are supposed to be in the last half of December, that's apparently where we're at. In that, it's seen on yesterday, on Thursday, the 18th of December, March corn, $4.44. And when you look at the trends on that, we've been trading within a range really of about 435 to about 452, closed at just at the middle to a little bit higher than that, and have seen relative strength indices slightly positive. We're really kind of biding time, it looks like, till we get to the end of the year. And I'd say also cash markets for corn. We do have the kind of the usual suspects for price leaders. Of course, Southwest Kansas, a high price of $4.20 for cash corn, but really actually the highest price, although it kind of stands out by itself, but with one elevator as opposed to the whole bunch of them. There's a $4.35 cash bid in the Pittsburgh area, so that's interesting. If anything, we're looking for new crop bids heading off into next year. That's when you're in a situation like this where we have a large crop waiting for movement. That's kind of what we see. 457 new crop bid listed here yesterday in Garden City, Southwest Kansas as a high. 437 in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and 427 out west in Colby, and again lesser than that, 418 Salina, and at or below $4 otherwise. So we look at those cash bids for corn, and you're wondering, well, what signals are we giving for new crop bids on the ongoing corn versus soybean debate? With let's say in the Garden City area, with a new crop bid of 457 for corn, and for soybeans about $9.81, and there are some places with higher bids than that. You got a new crop soybean corn price ratio about 215. So that's definitely in that part of the country favoring corn. But you go to other part of the state in the Topeka area, they grow a lot of corn in that part of the world, but also grow a lot of soybeans. You have a couple soybean crushers in the eastern Kansas region. So crop bid for Topeka for corn of 392, and you compare that to soybean new crop bid of 991. You have a ratio of 2.5, definitely favoring soybeans. So we'll see. There's a lot of other factors in there, cost of fertilizer and all that, all in play. And so anyway, as we look at that, we're probably corn, as much as any of these commodities, has the potential to be affected by what we see on the January 12th upcoming bevy of reports. Of course, we'll have the crop production summary from USDA NASS, the WASDE report, World Ag Supply Demand Estimates. We'll see what prices come out of that. There's a grain stocks report coming out, and as well as that'll be for December 1st numbers, and will give us an idea where we were during the November quarter in terms of grain usage. So we got all that in play, and also we keep playing catch up on the amount of corn and soybean and wheat export data that's been coming along, and see for the week ending November 27th, getting closer to current. For that week, we were at basically 75 million bushels exported. Need a pace of 60, just under 65 million bushels to meet the USDA's projection. So when we look back at that info, it's no surprise, I guess, that the USDA came in that December report, raised corn to a never before reached level of exports, 3.2 billion bushels, and so we'll see how that pace all holds up going on into that report. You look at soybeans. We already mentioned soybean prices in different parts of the country of Kansas anyway. Soybean prices in the closed for the January contract 10.51 and a half on yesterday on December 18th. And we had seen, soybeans basically have had there's no sugar coating it, and had a major sell off from where they were in mid late November. Got up to as high as about 1170, closed at 1052 and a quarter, and I think generally decent prospects for soybean production in South America, probably weighing in on that. We did see the soybean export figures just at about the same level. Again, as we play catch up with these USDA numbers, coming in at about the same level as 29.5 million bushels for the week ending November 27th, as the pace needed to meet the USDA's projections of about 32 million bushels. And overall, I guess you stand back and look at soybeans. We still are holding up with strong domestic crush, so that's good, but are just so really on the export side. We had 1 or 2 weeks that were at this last fall when we had low prices that we had pretty good numbers, but now we're just kind of settling into the post-harvest pace with the competition with South America looming. So you've got all that in play, as well as how the China-U.S. trade negotiations have the results of that, and the degree to which China will be able to actually meet their what they had said they would do in those negotiations. Cash prices for beans, again, all below $10. Highest ones actually 970, well, 987 in the Pittsburgh area, 992 around Topeka for cash, 978 in Hutchinson, and then out to the west, more like 950 plus or minus for in the Colby and Garden City area. So it kind of is as it is. I just kind of blew quickly through grain sorghum. I just want to indicate there that we do see some signs in some areas, particularly the Hutchinson area, 1 or 2 elevators coming in at higher bids. You have a $3.70 bid on the cash side. And coming out of Hutchinson, it's at one or two of the major terminals. Others about 20-30 cents below that, but still probably indicative of some export movement. And when you look at the sorghum export numbers, we for a long time over the last 6 months just were flatlining, not very much, but we've come in pretty well though. Now at about 2 million bushels during the week ending November the 27th. Still slow relative to the pace of what we need to meet the USDA's latest projections. But again, I think it's going to be really interesting to see also how those January 12th numbers treat the sorghum side. I really want to see what the feed use and ethanol use of sorghum has been during that last quarter. Have a lot to do with where that crop goes. And finally, I guess to finish up with wheat, we have seen the wheat futures prices actually on yesterday on Thursday the 18th up about 9 cents or so, closing with March 2026 lead contract at 517, July. Well, in May at 528 3/4, July at 541 3/4, all up 8 or 9 cents. So we'll take it. And also, it's interesting to see as we keep seeing more of this data that there remains some pretty decent movement of hard red winter wheat. In fact, you see hard red winter wheat generally holding up pretty well. Hard red spring wheat, not so much in the last several weeks. So did have a pace of just under 5 million bushels for the week ending November 27th, and it gotten up to, and we need about 5.4 USDA's projections again, and again about 300. We have about 325 million bushels of hard red winter wheat projected for export. Next highest category is hard red spring at 240. So yeah, we're looking pretty decent with regard to hard red spring wheat with its low prices moving through. So I think the long-term price trends for say the March 26 contract, which is now the lead. We'd gotten up to a high of about 550, 555 for that March contract. And that was in late October, early November. Had fallen off to about 505 or so, and now we're about 517. So at this point, with other crops in Australia and other areas looking pretty good, we have some headwinds, but we'll see where all that goes. So overall, we're coming to the holiday period. Generally, it's a time when traders back off. So much they try to not be exposed when they're over the Christmas, New Year's break so much, and all that holds up unless there's some major issue that's at play. It could be geopolitical, it could be whatever. Probably geopolitical more so than anything. And so I think there's not a lot of anticipation of major moves. However, if something does happen, you've got markets where we have less volume, less traders are paying attention. So if something does it come in, and we start to move, and the markets react, they're moving on lesser volume, on fewer traders. So interesting to see where we're at. And again, I guess I wouldn't say we're on hold till January 12th, but as far as hard data, that's the next time we'll have something on USDA to really work with. But we're an active trading group here in agriculture, and if something comes about, I'm sure the markets will react. But if something comes about, it's going to have to be different than what we see on the horizon right now.
Daniel, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Shelby.
That was K-State grain economist Daniel O'Brien. We're cutting to a short break, but stick around because we have more for you up ahead. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we continue our show discussing cleaning data for better decisions with K-State Agriculture Precision Specialist Deepak Joshi and K-State Extension Agronomist Tina Sullivan. Deepak, Tina, thank you both so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you, Shelby, for inviting us.
Deepak, as we're looking at cleaning data, what data are we looking at?
Here we are talking about the yield data. Yield data is one of the most important data for each of us, for the grower perspective and for the people who work on the research side as well. So here, when we talk about the yield data, we have a combine harvester to harvest the crop. So when we use the combine harvester and it record the yield data in the field at a certain location as well in the form of the point, and it have a geographic location information, yield information of all those geographic location as well. So these data are important for making a different decision, like how much pesticide to apply, how much seed rate to apply, how much fertilizer to apply. So these data are used a lot for the decision making purpose as well. So we need to clean these data before we use for any decision.
And when you say clean this data, what do you mean by clean?
The data we get from the combine harvester, are the raw data. They are not ready to use sometime. So there are some error while they record the data. So these error need to be removed before using for any decision making or before making any yield map as well. So these cleaning is important for the use actually.
Is this something a producer is able to do?
Yeah, there are different way of cleaning. There are some free software as well that can be used, but we need to make sure that we follow the protocol and well-established protocol. So which we will have in the incoming agronomy eUpdate article as well. We'll run a new article how to clean those data as well using those software.
So what are some common errors you have in yield monitor data?
Yeah, there are a few errors that we need to consider and which are really important as well. For example, speed change. For example, when we use the combine harvester, that combine harvester, it have a header where header caught the crop, and at the same time it have some other sensor as well, like a flow sensor that record the flow rate of the crop when it hit the flow sensor. So when we measure the yield per acre, that flow sensor convert flow rate of the grain into the yield per acre, but it assume that the speed of the combine harvester is the same throughout the travel actually. But sometime when we start the combine at the beginning of the pass, it may not be a consistent speed, or sometime when we have a turning point of the combine, we may not have the same speed throughout the harvest. So those speed need to be removed actually. So at the beginning we may have a high speed, and at the end we may have low speed. So those speed need to be removed from the data when we clean actually, so to get the better quality data. And some other are the like a partial header width at the end of the field, like when we are harvesting the crop. Based on the width, we like for example, if we have a 40 feet wide header, so it will harvest the 14 corn rows, but at the end of the harvest we may not have the full 14 rows of the corn. So at that time maybe we have only 10 rows of the corn. So that time as well we don't have a complete pass based on the width of the combined head. So we need to remove those incomplete passes as well. And sometimes poor GPS signal, GPS signal is important based on the weather condition. We may not get satellite receive at that time. So we may not get the good GPS signal, and the yield recorded at one location may not be a exact the same point in the field as well. So we need to remove those as well. And some other delay, some others error are flow delay, as I mentioned, when harvester caught the crop, and it had to those grain have to travel from the head up to the flow sensor, where those grain yield will be recorded. So it's not a right away, so they have to travel throughout inside the combine harvester. So there is a delay from the cut to the grain data recorded actually. So we need to consider those delay as well too, and it need to be removed from the data actually. So those are the most of the common error that we see in the yield data.
What type of impact have you seen a difference of not quite cleaned data to versus it being cleaned?
So usually, the common error or impact are like some of the yield data, will have some of the data will be very high yield values, like in the thousands bushel per acre. But in reality, we cannot have a thousands bushel per acre of the yield actually. So sometimes we have a zero yield as well. Like for example, once we're done with the harvest, if we still have the combined harvester head down and the flow sensor on, we will still be recording the yield as a zero, but there is no crop in there. So those zero are the not the real yield in the field actually. So these are the very common impact on our yield data actually. And also if we don't clean them, and we will see so much high variation on the yield as well. So that's why it's important to remove those from the data actually before we use.
Is this important to think about for all our different crops?
Those whenever we use the yield monitor system to harvest any crop, so we need to consider all of these error in the data.
Tina, how have you seen this have an impact on agronomic decisions?
So if we're going to use our yield maps to go forward into maybe some prescription fertility applications, or maybe we're working with variable rate irrigation, we want to make sure that input that we're working with first and foremost, that yield input, is correct. Because as Deepak said, we can get some pretty wild ranges not from, a miss operator error, but just if, something is still on, or maybe we clogged up for a moment. Those are all real errors that we need to take out of that data set, because as Deepak said, realistically, we're not getting 3,960 bushels per acre and having that full range of being, 170 to that 3,000, or our low range being 5 to 140, kind of referring back to that eUpdate that we published, kind of showing that huge range of data. But also we can use this cleaned up yield data to determine not just those agronomic factors of what do we need to apply, but think about, did we see a progression of disease or an insect into a field? We can capture that by cleaning up those yield values to see how far it might have stretched into a field, as another example, and why this is applicable to all of our cropping systems.
Deepak, what would you like to remind growers about when they're thinking about if they should clean their yield monitor data?
Actually, once we have the crop harvested, and before we use those for the next season of any decision making, I think we need to consider all those different kind of the error, like a flow sensor delay, a moisture sensor delay, incomplete swath width, and also GPS signal, bad GPS signal. So those are the really important to consider before making use of the yield map. And also it's also important to have the well calibrated yield monitor system as well before we use, so that we don't have these kind of the error data as well. So these are the important to consider for our application.
How can someone make sure it is well calibrated?
Based on based on their equipment, those equipment, they have their own manual. So based on the brand, they have a appropriate manual, and they have a appropriate schedule for the calibration. So we should follow each brand prescription for the calibration and their procedure as well.
Deepak, any other thoughts?
I think yield cleaning is important, and before making any decision, so it need to be done using the different appropriate approaches. So we'll run a new article for how to clean these yield data before making any decision in the near future. Actually,
Deepak, Tina, I appreciate you both taking the time to join us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
That was K-State Agriculture Precision Specialist Deepak Joshi and K-State Extension Agronomist Tina Sullivan discussing cleaning yield monitor data. If you'd like to read more on this topic, you can do so by reading the eUpdate article titled Cleaning Yield Monitor Data Matters for Better Farm Decisions. I will link it in today's show notes on agtoday.net. And in today's show, Deepak did mention that they will have another eUpdate article coming out on this topic. If you'd like to receive that in your email inbox, you can sign up for eUpdate newsletters by going to eUpdate.agronomy.ksu.edu. We're cutting to a short break now on Agriculture Today, but stick around because we have more for you up ahead. You're tuned in to Agriculture Today, and we conclude our Friday show with a weather update from K-State meteorologist Chip Redmond. Chip, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Chip, as we look at this past week of weather, have we seen a little bit of everything?
We come close to it. We've come very close to it. We haven't seen any snow, unless there's some that fell somewhere I wasn't aware of. But we have had some frozen moisture where we've had hoarfrost in places where we had a little bit higher humidity, especially in the southeast and Flint Hills region. We have had just the slightest of slight rain showers that came through Wednesday night into Thursday morning along the leading edge of that impactful cold front that we had, with just about 1/100 of an inch measured in some places in the Northeast. We've had fire weather with the significant wind yesterday, and we've had, honestly, warm weather. Even, you think about, we just had that cold front come through yesterday and brought some blowing dust and very unpleasant conditions. It was still warmer than normal we're still 3 or 4 degrees warmer than normal, especially in the morning. And temperature's just been very consistently above normal. Even the coolest days, we're struggling to get. We should be in the mid 40s right now, mid to low 40s for most of the state, with average lows in the low to even mid teens. And we're not anywhere near that. We've seen temperatures 50, 60. We even had some 70s. We had an 83 in southwest Kansas that broke at least on the Mesonet, broke a state record for the warmest December temperature reading on the Mesonet. So just very, very warm conditions overall. And that's, I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but that'll be the theme for a while. So we've definitely had the extremes without the precipitation component of it, and seen a kind of a classic Kansas weather where it can change quickly and can still be dynamic even without big moisture events.
Chip, at the beginning of this month, we kind of joked about, are we going to have a white Christmas? So with our above average temperatures, how far away from that are we going to be?
I think we'll be about as far away as physically possible. It's going to be very, very, very warm. In fact, so we had the impactful frontal system come through on Thursday. That brought obviously some cooler weather in general, but as that low pressure moved off to the east, we had high pressure built in across the state again for Friday, and we had winds shift out of the south. But then another frontal system came through Saturday. But then things really slow down weather-wise starting on Sunday. We got high pressure that dominates across really all the Great Plains and most of the Southwest United States as well. And we start to see really temperatures build in. We've had a lot of heat building to our Southwest, heat, kind of with quotes around it just because it is December. But that warmth is going to persist through all of next week and encompass before, during, and after Christmas. Record highs around Christmas time vary by location, but we typically see them in the 60s for most of the state, and I think we're going to push record highs for Christmas Day. Just very, very warm temperatures, and our overnight lows. Honestly, so we had cooler start to the morning on Friday, and another cooler start to the morning on Sunday. And by cool, I mean we actually get below freezing. After Sunday morning, we might not get below freezing potentially till like the last couple of days of December, right before New Year's. So very, very warm conditions. And so we'll be the opposite of a white Christmas. We won't really have any precipitation to speak of, at least for the next week. The next possibility of moisture is somewhere around that December 28th, 29th timeframe, and probability is not overly high at this point for widespread moisture. The gesture is going to try to shift south as we get more of an impactful system shifting south into California, where we've had most of our big storms in the Northwest here over the last few weeks in Oregon and Washington. So as that pattern shifts south, we might start to get into a little bit more active weather with moisture-wise by the new year. But overall, warm and dry is going to be the pattern until the year.
Chip, I appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Yep, thanks for having me.
That was K-State meteorologist Chip Redmond. That's all we have for you this week on Agriculture Today, but we'll be back with more for you on Monday.